You talked there about sort of some quick exits. Do you think that's changing, out of curiosity? Because we had Simon Cook in your chair, and he was talking about sort of 5 to 7 year exits, and you're saying, you had a few in a year and a half.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah, is that something you see changing in the industry, where actually exits are happening quicker? Or
so I think they're different kinds of companies right now. So there are companies, especially in Europe, right? If you're scaling, there are American companies interested in acquiring you to be, so in the case of Luster, Fab was growing. And now Fab, I think, does almost 35-40% of its revenue in Europe, and a lot of it's attributable to Luster. They also bought a German company, so the two combined. And
what do they do? I don't know, Fab or Luster.
So Fab sells boutique-y design goods that you would normally find at shops, like the independent shops, online. They initially started off flash sales, so it was one thing a day or a handful of things a day. They're now much more like a store. They built their first physical store in New York City. So I mean they're trying to build a design-led IKEA. Like some, with boutique designers, but with all the advantages that IKEA has, so low price, availability, and when we looked at the market data, Europeans spend 3 times as much as Americans do on decorating their homes, both in terms of volume as well
3
as
times.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
but
No idea. That's because they know how to live.
Or they have smaller houses, and they have smaller houses. Is that per square foot?
But they have smaller houses. But think about it, Scandinavian design,
Right.
Italian design. Like people care much more about their fit and finish in their home. So it's both volume as well as price per unit.
Wow.
So we looked at what Fab did. And by the way, Fab has a wonderful story, right? They started off as a gay social network called Fabulous.
Wow.
Didn't work. And one of the things that they did on their discussion forums was decide to sell some stuff. And they noticed that if they sold these design products, they stuck really well. And so they pivoted entirely, turned from Fabulous to Fab, and decided to become a design store.
That's awesome.
And their early users, 65,000 users, were their gay social network members. And then it kind of grew from there. They have a few million people now using it. So Luster is doing the same exact thing. And when Fab was thinking about expansion, they bought Luster. So actually, they came to us with pretty much a gun to our head, saying, "Look, either you sell to us, or we're going to come into the market." And this is a big difference between American firms and European firms. They, in the course of about 8 months, I think, raised about $50 million.
Fab did.
Yeah.
Wow.
We, in the course of 8 months, raised £750,000. This is totally different. So when they came knocking in England, so we're going to spend $1 million a month. At that point, we were not spending anywhere close to those kinds of levels. And so the question was, do you sell to Fab, or do you then try and raise a round and go head-to-head against them? And they made us an attractive enough offer that it made sense to sell.
So it was extortion.
But it is extortion, and that's exactly what you should do.
They will crush you otherwise.
Exactly. And it was a very entertaining conversation because it was very polite, very diplomatic, but the message was pretty clear. It's either you sell or we compete. And we figured we probably had a 4 or 5 month head start, right? So even if they did want to compete, it would take them a while to be able to build the talent base, et cetera. So we're able to use that to our advantage, and there are a couple of other people interested in the company as well.
Okay.
So
you were talking about early exits. Sorry, just finish up on that.
So you do see early exits like that. You also see early exits you see them less in Europe, but in the acqui-hire space. So a company builds something, they have phenomenally gifted engineers. Facebook, Google, Twitter, et cetera. They're all looking for engineering talent. I mean, it is. Prices have gone up. The great people are great. There's a huge hunt for talent. And because these companies are so desperate for great engineers, if they see a company that's struggling, that's probably not living up to where it wanted to be, but they've got exceptional talent, they're willing to acquire it. And so you see a lot of these early exits for that reason.
Just for the people.
Just for the people.
Wow.
And the
tech as well, or the people?
It's usually the people.
Wow, that's wild.
Because the tech they can kind of rebuild, but the people are hard to find.
And they're paying like $500,000 for these people.
Usually
Probably
a million to $1.5 million per person. And they only value the engineers. So if you've got 10 people and 2 people are like
Sales.
the business people.
Tell that to the sales guy. Yeah, exactly.
CEO. Nah.
Yeah, if the CEO's a coder, it's great. If the CEO's not, and they'll run engineering interviews on these kinds of guys.
Just to make sure.
To make sure that these are the folks that they want to hire in.
Why don't they just poach them?
It's hard
You
if
think
you're
it'd be
working
cheaper. You show an engineer, a lot of zeros.
Yeah, and salaries in the valley have gotten inflated, but usually if the startup's done a good job at recruiting, they've also done a good job at retaining these guys because these engineers are getting offers all the time.
So
I found out my old salary. So I was probably director level product manager. Back in the day, you'd earn somewhere between like 100 to 120K. Dollars. It's a good salary. And if you got to a VP product manager, you'd probably earn 120 to 150K. Today, 400 to 600K. These are insanely high salaries, and there's a scarcity of talent. So there's a war for talent, so people will buy for talent.
Is that the big sort of debate in the U.S. about immigration? Just because they're keeping some immigration down, and if they open it up, maybe those salaries will go
all
down.
the tech companies want immigration doors to open because there's a
paying too
scarcity.
high.
And because they want more people. So
the local engineers are picketing for immigration.
For non-immigration.
I want to keep my $400,000 salary. Thank you.
So the company keeps these engineers with equity stakes, but they don't have non-compete agreements usually with software engineers.
Non-competes are unenforceable, at least in California law. So you can't stop somebody from working somewhere else.
Okay, so you keep
What you're doing and thought, you could apply it to their part of the business.
In this whole process, I'm just curious, how much is the technology and the business idea, and how much is the person behind it? I mean, that's why we do this show, to find out the people behind the tech, and a lot of people that have been here said they invest in people ultimately.